If they have got nothing to hide, why are they not letting international media inside Tibet?
I will only go back if Chinese leave Tibet.
Actually, I always wanted to go back to Tibet and live with my mom.
I fear that the day the unfortunate news breaks out that the Dalai Lama is no longer with us, that day Tibetans will resort to violence.
Tibet, an ancient Asian country as big as Western Europe, used to be a land with distinct cultural and ethnic identity. Consumed by the passion of Buddhist faith, virtuous, self-sufficient and happy. In 1950, the People's Republic of China entered Tibet. Late 50s saw several failed uprisings by the Tibetan locals, denouncing the Chinese occupation. On March 19, 1959, 23-year-old Dalai Lama, Tibet's spiritual and political leader, fled to Dharamsala, India, with over 80,000 followers. The invasion of Tibet that began in 1949 has resulted in the death of over 1 million Tibetans so far, the destruction of 6,000 monasteries, nunneries and temples, and the imprisonment and torture of thousands of Tibetans.
The method they use is like they use electric gadgets, like and they put it in your mouth, and especially the nuns, they use these electronic gadgets in their private parts, and then of course nail piercing, and then keeping long hours in what do you call very cold water, and then all of a sudden, and then exposing to the sun.
My mom decided to take me and my sister to India to study, basically to study. And so we started our journey from Lhasa to Shigatse. This is another town in Tibet. So from Shigatse we walked to Nepal. It took 2 months. And most of the time we walked during night time, and daytime we kind of hide it from the checkpoints, and so.
More than 100,000 people lost to the mountains in their escape from Tibet. More than 10,000 Tibetan refugees living in various parts of the world. More than 50 years of non-violent struggle. The objective? Genuine autonomy.
Genuine autonomy, when the Dalai Lama says genuine autonomy, is something similar, let's say, Scotland enjoys under UK right now, or Quebec enjoys under Canada, where these provincial governments have a true, genuine autonomy. And that's all we're asking for. I mean, it's one thing to have it in the book saying so-and-so is autonomous, but in real terms, if it's not, then obviously people are not going to be happy.
But for the Chinese, the Tibetan issue is that of an internal conflict and not a matter of unjust political occupation.
Tibet is not a free country, it's a free province. And a lot of places, like Taiwan or Tibet, there are always some separatists. They want to separate from their own country, which is so, in my opinion, which is really wrong, because we were helping them. The Han people were helping them with their economic development, because without Han people, they can never be as developed as now. And just as I said, most Tibetan people were friendly to the Han people. Just some separatists. They always have some intentions, aspirations that they want to separate from China.
What do you think about the Dalai Lama?
Well, I should say he's the big head of the separatists.
The Tibet Autonomous Region, created by China in 1965, has all its legislation subject to approval of the central government in Beijing.
First, Tibetans, no matter what Chinese says, I mean, they can sort of kill Tibetans, or they can exploit, they can buy Tibetans, they can develop materially in order to win Tibetans' hearts or minds, but at the end of the day, first Tibetans, China or Communist China is an uninvited guest.
If the youth is frustrated for many generations, then I think there may be in future cases when Tibetans may rise up arms and fight for their own country.
Despite the Dalai Lama-led Gandhian struggle of over 50 years, the powerful West has failed to proactively support the Tibetan cause.
According to the United Nations, where there's been 3 resolutions passed back in the 60s about Tibet, they do say that the Tibetan people have the right to self-determination. But as far as international countries recognising Tibet as an independent country, that really isn't there at the moment. But what most major international and world governments do recognise is that Tibet is different and should have real proper autonomy, and that its people should have the right to self-determination.
Tibetans have fought, Tibetans have lost, Tibetans have died, but the Tibetan spirit has survived over the decades. Sorrow and hope are the 2 things that make up a Tibetan's life. Sorrow of the past, sorrow of the present, and a meekly glowing flame of hope for the future.
As an individual, I will try to go inside Tibet through some other means, and this is something, one of my dreams, to see your own country from your own eyes before you sort of die. This is one of my dreams. So I'm sure one day I will be able to do it.